The inevitable squabble of the children began. Then, let's clarify a few things. That's okay, right? Of course, ask anything. Okay. Lucia took a deep breath. She was aware of her fiery temperament. She was determined not to repeat the same mistake. Her opponent was a 10-year-old child. He probably didn't know better. It was up to her, an adult, to guide him. There were more than 1 or 2 points to criticize, but first, I can somewhat understand wildly swinging the training weapon. It's a common mistake made by those ignorant of martial arts. For your reference, I am an expert. So, to an expert, it looked wild. I thought I was careful. Disappointing. The smile disappeared from Cheyenne's face. But Lucia had no intention of stopping. She was not faint-hearted enough to stop here. The arrow that had been fired could not be turned back. Firstly, there are several strange aspects in your peculiar actions and what you call training. I'm not sure where to begin, but first. Lucia pointed at the training weapons lying messily on the floor. I can understand the sword, spear, and mace. One can get used to distances simply by swinging them. Right. Cheyenne folded his arms and nodded. It was an attitude of silently listening. Lucia seemed content with his reaction and cleared her throat a bit. Now, the main point. Why on earth are you swinging a dagger, shield, and staff? Your training method is completely wrong. You have a point. Indeed, Cheyenne understood why Lucia criticized his training method. It might have been obvious. At a glance, his training method was neither systematic nor efficient, just a mere repetitive act. Moreover, Cheyenne himself realized that what he just did was abnormal when he thought about it. However, that was before Cheyenne verified his skill level. Cheyenne unfolded his arms and let out a deep sigh. Where should I start explaining this? As the situation got complicated, he felt a headache coming on. Cheyenne pressed hard on the back of his neck. Lucia has a point. In a spacious area, the use of a dagger is often limited during battles. And it's better to separately learn shield techniques. If one can't feel mana, there's no need to discuss the staff. Let's stop such ignorant training then. If you develop wrong habits from a young age, you'll definitely regret it. Cheyenne stared intently at Lucia's face. Then he approached her and lightly patted her on the shoulder. I appreciate your concern, but I'll decline. What? Lucia's voice rose slightly. Didn't you just agree with me? I said you had a point. I didn't say I agreed. It was a childish play on words. Lucia looked at Cheyenne with a blank expression. The child, who once maintained a cheerful smile, had now erased the grin from his lips. He knew there would be resistance, but he couldn't outright dismiss how seriously he had taken Lucia's words. Feeling frustrated, an idea suddenly flashed across her mind. Let me ask one more thing. Lucia pointed out something that had been bothering her. Why do you eat snow? Aren't they dirty? If you're thirsty, you can use the well in the courtyard. For a moment, Cheyenne's shoulders twitched ever so slightly. Lucia didn't miss it. You flinched just now. What? Cheyenne widened his eyes, and Lucia giggled. You know yourself that what you're doing is strange. Cheyenne couldn't deny it. As he began to recall his absurd actions, his face turned hot. Was it because of his young age? He became easily embarrassed. Furthermore, he was humiliated in front of a girl he had clashed with not long ago. He had a nagging feeling that it might be used against him later. Oddly, the many incidents of the past and the present seemed to overlap. Somehow, his lips wouldn't close as he was assailed by these memories. Seeing the dumbstruck expression on the boy's face, Lucia chuckled. Why don't you stop? Everything has its limits. Besides, what you're doing isn't even luck. If you really want, I can kindly teach you. Cheyenne pressed his temples as if he had a throbbing headache. Seeing this, Lucia started to press her advantage. Before laying the foundation when young, it's the time to solidify the base. You can swing a sword when you're older and stronger. Sigh. Cheyenne's patience was wearing thin with Lucia's nagging. Did she realize how she looked right now? Cheyenne swallowed the rising expletive and stared at Lucia. Hey. Cheyenne said with a stern face. How old are you? It was an unexpected question out of the blue. Nevertheless, Lucia responded. 8 years old. Why? Then shouldn't you be solidifying your foundation? Who was the one silently swinging the sword just a moment ago? It's okay for me. Upon hearing Lucia's confident reply, Cheyenne chuckled. Hey, do you realize your words are contradictory? Lucia flinched. She seemed to have realized her mistake. Cheyenne didn't let this moment slip and pressed on. Where are you from? Helen. Helen is a warm plain in the southwest of the empire. I was born and raised in the north. What are you trying to say? Lucia squinted at Cheyenne, annoyed by his roundabout way of speaking. Cheyenne carefully collected his pieces from the board game. He was tired from the pointless argument. Unnecessary energy expenditure was unwelcome. Do you not know because you're from the south? In the north, there's a method to train by becoming one with nature and water in the snow. Of course, it was nonsense. Shine just made that up on the spot. He didn't particularly want to lie, but he couldn't possibly explain that he was trying to increase his cold resistance, so he fabricated the story. What nonsense are you spouting? Don't you just not want to admit something? Lucia rebuked Shine as if he was talking absolute gibberish. It was frustrating and maddening. Even though it was a memory from 500 years ago, it was clear to her. There was no such training method in the North, even during the times when she was known as Kyrie. She knew well because she was originally from the northern ethnic group. However, separate from that, she couldn't tell Shine she was reincarnated. Even she herself knew how unbelievable it was to claim she had reincarnated. Could it be, over the past 500 years, some new training method has been developed? She tried to be a bit flexible in her thoughts. Lies. If that was true, then many wouldn't have died of frostbite. If such a method existed, many wouldn't have died in vain. If you find it hard to believe, I'll show you evidence. Shine began to scoop up a handful of snow and slide it inside his clothing. What are you doing? Just watch. Spreading his arms wide, Shine looked up proudly. As you can see, I didn't scream at all. It's not cold. It just feels like ice has touched me. In reality, although Shine felt the cold sensation, he wasn't taken aback by a sudden shock. You've gone mad from the cold. You're crazy. Shine gave a bitter smile, knowing they weren't on the same page. Even after showing her directly, he was treated like a madman. Arguing with a kid wasn't just draining physically but mentally, too. He was nearly exhausted. Should I just outright tell her that I'm a player? That this is a game world, and I know about everything that's going to happen. If I don't get treated as a madman, that'll be fortunate. Lucia heaved a deep sigh. She felt defeated in an argument with a kid. Regret surged, wishing she had studied a bit in her past life. I'm going insane. Should I just say outright that I've reincarnated? But I have no way to prove that I've reincarnated. If I tell this 10-year-old kid about my memories, he'll surely think I'm just boasting. Revealing her identity as a reincarnated person would be problematic. Just a moment ago, Shine was flustered by every word Lucia said. Fortunately, the grown-up wasn't being chided for bickering with a child. Their patience was wearing thin. Both Lucia and Shine felt the same. A brief silence hovered between them. The one to break it was Lucia. You're weaker than me. What? At first, I thought I misheard. That brat. What did she just say? Unexpectedly stung by Lucia's words, lightning seemed to strike inside Shine's head. His breath hitched. His heart thumped. Dizzy. Feeling faint. How long had it been since he was last shaken by such a trivial taunt? It had been a while since he had been in such a situation. Shine wryly noted his threshold for annoyance had lowered. Is it because of my young age? Why do I come off so childish? Verbal attacks because arguments failed. The childishness gave him chills. However, he did understand how she felt. Perhaps she was very frustrated. But just because he understood Lucia's feelings didn't mean Shine had to stay silent. Does she not know about my past life? Why does she ridicule me for being defeated by a hit from the reincarnated sword saint? It was laughable. Really. Shine's face darkened in anger. Thankfully, his eyes narrowed in irritation without any effort. Perhaps that was why. Lucia's eyes widened. She now stood in opposition to Shine. She seemed to realize what she had just blurted out. However, Shine didn't miss the chance. Hey, say that again. I said, I'm stronger than you. Yeah, you are stronger. Even though it was a surprise attack, I was knocked down without even having a chance. Lucia's face hardened, realizing what she was doing to the young boy. However, Shine didn't care whether she looked firm or not. His past life and the scar of inferiority stung. But tell me, what does being strong have to do with me following your training method? Also, why do you treat me like a madman when I'm speaking? With that, Shine spat out his words. Lucia gazed at Shine with vacant eyes. She tried to speak, but you were just lucky that he couldn't open his mouth. He was too heated. Even Lucia realized that now. Thinking about it, this was the second time. She had hit a child and berated him for being weak. She felt her face heat up with shame, recalling what she did. She was just lucky. Lucia mulled over its meaning. She didn't need to think deeply. She was lucky, born with more talent than others. Even after death, she was reborn with her memories intact. From birth, her starting line in life was different. To add to that, unlike other ordinary orphans, she was immediately adopted by a noble family. If she had a conscience, she should admit it. It was a clear-cut conclusion that she couldn't make excuses for. A mixture of embarrassment and guilt consumed her. She felt the urge to escape from the situation. What was she doing to a child? I wonder who the real child is here. Lucia chuckled bitterly. Come to think of it, she often messed up in her previous life due to her aggressive nature. Memories of her comrades from her past life suddenly came to her. Syra, too. Even Yura always told me to stop acting like a child. From the day she was chosen by the Holy Sword on a sandy island in the lake, Kairi bore the fate of the hero. However, Kairi was fundamentally a country girl. To make matters worse, she was not an imperial citizen but an immigrant's daughter. A barbaric and useless girl. She held just a sword and thought that she was something. Her level was so low it made one nauseous. She was always followed by such derogatory remarks. Each time, she'd react violently. She went close to ruining her work every time because of her soaring temper. More often than not, her body acted before he could think. Would she have been able to handle the situation smoothly if it hadn't been for someone else's help? Maybe it was sheer luck that she was in a position where someone could assist her. An old thought she always harbored. But that, too, was a thing of the past. 500 years had passed. She hadn't seen or heard from her colleagues. She couldn't distinguish between old friends whose fate she was unaware of and Cheyenne. Before she realized it, Lucia felt sorry towards Cheyenne. Yes, let's apologize again. What am I hesitating for? Even being on good terms with the family I barely got isn't enough. I'm really pathetic. At that resolute moment. Thud. Yikes. Are you mute? Why are you keeping your mouth shut? Lucia let out a startled scream. A cold object slid inside her clothes, startling her. It was Cheyenne who had shoved snow down Lucia's back. Just try it once. Once you try it, you'll change your mind. This could help you later. Cheyenne couldn't finish his sentence. Lucia, with a terrifying look on her face, threw a punch. Bam! Her fist landed on Cheyenne's face. OWW. You crazy bastard. It was Cheyenne's second time getting knocked out. Thud. Cheyenne, after being punched in the face, collapsed lifelessly on the snow. Oh no. Again, I acted before thinking. This stupid, moronic, ignorant wretch. Oh, this isn't the time. Lucia quickly came to her senses. She rushed to Cheyenne to check on him. Lucia tried listening for breathing and also examined Cheyenne for any visible injuries. Fortunately, Cheyenne was still breathing. Other than his busted lip bleeding a bit, he looked peacefully asleep. Sigh. Relieved, Lucia rubbed her chest. A streak of cold sweat ran down her back. Ugh, this is insane. Lucia clutched her head, muttering curses under her breath. She brushed back Cheyenne's damp bangs. Seeing that the young boy was safe, Lucia's tension eased. Sigh. She sat down heavily on the snow. Her butt felt quite cold, but she didn't care. Thanks to the snow cushioning the fall, Cheyenne's head wasn't injured. Lucia felt relief. It's a relief. Sigh. Trying to calm her startled heart, Lucia lifted her head and let out a sigh. It was ridiculous that she was this alarmed, considering she was the one who had hit Cheyenne. However, seeing Cheyenne collapse lifelessly after punching him in the face made her heart sink. For a while, she tried to calm her heart. Snowflakes landed on the bridge of her nose. It wasn't long ago that she saw the sun moving overhead, but now the sky was covered with dark clouds. Is it snowing? Lucia stood up from her spot and dusted off her rear. Quickly. The girl hoisted the unconscious boy over her shoulder and walked briskly towards the castle. Lucia gently laid Cheyenne down on the bed and covered him with a blanket. Rumble. Sure enough, looking outside, there was a storm, with thunder echoing and a snowstorm blowing. Good thing she had hurried. Turning her gaze away from the window, Lucia reached out to Cheyenne. Wiping the blood that had dripped from his mouth with her sleeve, on the surface, he looked all right. Perhaps the ordeal was mostly over. Lucia pulled a chair over and sank into it. What the hell? Lucia felt exhausted. She felt a deeper weight in her heart than when she had swung her sword all day. When was the last time she felt such emotional turbulence? Lucia thought back over the past 8 years. But, whether in the village she used to live, when her mother passed away, or when a stranger told her he was her father, she never let her emotions take over. Lucia gazed at Cheyenne's face. If only you kept your mouth shut, you would be quite cute. At that moment, knock knock. Miss, I've brought the items you requested. Yes, just a moment. Lucia collected herself and quickly opened the door. Thank you, miss. Beyond the door stood headmaid Yuma, who was holding linens and clothes. Thank you, headmaid Yuma. It's no trouble, miss. Yuma entered the room with professional grace and began changing Cheyenne's clothes. Lucia silently observed. After removing his top, wiping his sweat with a wet towel, and changing him into fresh clothes, Yuma even applied ointment to Cheyenne's lips without a break in her actions. After finishing her tasks, Lucia gestured for Yuma to come closer. As Yuma gently brushed Cheyenne's hair back, she spoke. It hasn't even been a day, and you two argued again. And, miss, you moved the young master all by yourself without calling for help. As I told you before, you can call the servants anytime. Yes. Even though Yuma looked directly into Lucia's eyes, Lucia avoided her gaze. Lucia found Yuma unsettling. Yuma's mechanical demeanor, the horn protruding from one side of her head, her vertically slit pupils, and the unnaturally protective aura around her made Lucia uneasy. Why didn't you stop me? You've been watching. Lucia wondered why no one had stopped her, even the second time around. At Lucia's question, Yuma narrowed her eyes slightly before replying. No, it doesn't matter. Whether you two fought or you left the young master in the snow. Nobody would blame you even if he had died from the cold. Lucia lowered her head. What a harsh reality. Did it mean the servants of the mansion wouldn't intervene even if the kids killed each other? Lucia fidgeted with her wet hands. I saw it. This morning, you hugging Cheyenne. Such an act cannot be without affection. Are you really okay with it? Yes, I'm okay. Yuma stood up and walked to the door, not hesitating as if she had no more business there. You didn't leave the young master alone in the end. You did that before and now. And both of you are primed. You must be responsible for your actions. With those words, Yuma closed the door. Only the sound of Cheyenne's breathing was heard in the excessively spacious room meant for one. Lucia stared intently at Cheyenne Priant's face. What on earth is Priant? Priant, Dawn Castle, a horned demon, 10-year-old brother. Maybe because the tension had eased, an unexpected chuckle escaped her lips. I have never even taken a disciple, much less have a child.